Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We are about to start our next session. Good afternoon, fellow Trojans. How are you? I see you. I love your energy. Thank you very much. And we are very happy that you still have a good spirit to continue our last but not least panel session. Are you ready, Trojans? Yay! When I say Trojans, you say? Trojans! We're gonna do a little bit with rap, yeah? Trojans! Trojans! Okay, that's a good spirit. I know a lot of us have a lot of coffee and tea and snacks and lunch. Can you imagine how many calories we already digest for today? So before we continue, I would like to ask you to rise from your seats. Let us burn a little bit of our calories. For those of you who has just arrived, please find your seats and join us in standing together. We're gonna do a dance called chicken dance. In the spirit of a chicken, they always rise in the early morning and still cookaroo until the afternoon come. So we're gonna do the spirit of Trojan chickens, yeah? Okay, are you ready, Trojans? Yes. Let's do the chicken dance. Amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. So that was the spirit of Trojan chickens there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue our last but not least panel session on the topic of financing and investing in the changing Asia-Pacific region with our panelists for today. As more companies focus on ESG factors and more government require firms to become more sustainable and encourage firms to produce renewable energy, first, allow me to introduce you to our moderator of this panel. But last night, we already seen our moderator as a singer and also a dancer who introduced you to one of the famous Indonesian song called Bento, Bento, Bento. Asik, yeah? You know? You remember? Yes. But now, you're gonna be more serious here, not as a singer or dancer, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have Mr. Bambang Surwarso, which is the Managing Director of KIB Consulting that provides service in business, finance, and accounting and tax advisory. He also served as Deputy Head of Asia Pacific Permanent Committee of Kadin Indonesia and actively seeks for and assists foreign companies in expanding their operations to Indonesia. Previously, he worked for the Indonesian Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bapak Bambang Surwarso, our moderator. Can you do your signature leg style first? Pose. All right. The stage is yours.
Okay, meet you again, fellow Trojan. Thank you. Yes, you're right. MC last night should be different with current session because the current session talk about the investment and financing in changing Asia Pacific region. And last night, if you listen or just heard our keynote speaker, Mr. Narongchae, said that Asia Pacific region will be different and will contribute significant growth for the global. At the time, Mr. Narongchae said that G20, ASEAN Summit, APEC, the result of that leader meeting, big influence for the business. And why we talk the Asia Pacific? Asia Pacific itself consists more than 50% population of the world. First. And second, with the 40 trillion US dollar, the GDP of Asia Pacific is about 56% of the world. This is really important region. And if you expect for the higher expectation for your investment, now we have a distinguished speaker. Let me call Pak Chandra Firmanto. Come on, Pak, please. Chandra Firmanto, founder and also managing director of Bramadi Capital, venture capital, and IndoGen. IndoGen Capital. Yeah, IndoGen Capital. And he also Trojan, and really proud of Trojan. See the shirt that he used, really proud of Trojan. Fight on. Okay, and the second panel is to be Pak Andru Subowo. Pak Andru Subowo, can you step forward? Pak Andru Subowo is a founder and also managing director of Bramadi Capital. You can sit everywhere, Pak. No sitting arranger. Okay, Andru also have more than 15 years experience in investment in different sectors. Last but not least, from Hong Kong we have Yosuke Fujimori. Yosuke worked for the Mitsui Trust Bank Capital, Hong Kong, another hub city other than Singapore. So Hong Kong has a key role in connecting the investment potential among the Asia Pacific and the other region. Please have seated. Okay, I start the panel having the panel with the not serious, right? Casual. Right? You agree, right? Okay. Start from Chandra. Chandra, you may share your view about your IndoGen capital and also your experience in investment.
Sure.
Chandra, please,
Thank you.
floor is yours.
Hi everyone. So thank you very much for having me. So maybe I'll share a slide. Yeah. So a bit about IndoGen Capital. So we are Southeast Asia focused venture capital firm based in Jakarta, Indonesia. So my name is Chandra Firmanto. I'm the founder and managing partners of IndoGen Capital. Next, please. Yeah, so our strategy is a bit different than other venture capitals. So we are sector agnostic, so we look for every sectors, but we only invest in startups that actually already well performing, oversubscribed, and then they have interest actually to scale up, to connect to corporations, and in order to be able to scale up, then they need to connect, right? They need to connect, they need to have the strategy to penetrate the market, and then even have the strategy to actually to exit, or maybe going through IPO process. So that's where we actually come in, provide our support, working along with the founders, and from there then you see that's the reason why they allow us actually to come in and to invest in the company. So it's a bit different than most VCs, but something that have been very successful for us. And so far, okay, next. We have actually doing many partnerships. We started in 2017. We already operating 2 funds with an eye actually to raise our third fund actually in 2023. So I can also share that the demand is actually very strong. So if actually there's a saying that next year is going to be crisis and everything, or right recession. So it's actually not really true, because there's actually a lot of money in the market. There are a lot of money in the market, and then there are a lot of interest actually to invest in funds. And we have done partnerships actually with Japanese trade organization as well. We are still doing that right now. We are the only official partners of JETRO in Southeast Asia. We have also signed an agreement with KOTRA, the Korean Trade Association as well. And the reasons why we are doing that, because we want to connect the startups, well-formed startups in the region with the corporations. And actually we also doing partnership with one of the largest industrial town, Jakarta, and then also Mahaka Media, one of the largest media company in Indonesia. Then also Kawan Lama, which is one of the largest retailers. Okay, next. In numbers, we already have made 30 investments. So far, we have presence in 5 countries. We have made 5 successful exits. And we just did IPO of one of the companies yesterday. So yesterday morning, actually. And that's the thing that we really proud of, because that company actually have a Japanese founder that started in Philippines, and then we helped them to get attractions in Indonesia, then eventually listed the company at IDX. Okay, so that's pretty much what IndoGen Capital. Next, if you want to reach out to me, you can add my numbers there. That's my WhatsApp numbers.
They're your number, your individual number.
Thank you. Yes, that's my individual numbers, and if you need any help, only for fellow Trojans, then I'm more than happy to support you. If you have any questions regarding the market, and then maybe strategy, how to enter, or maybe you want to connect to local companies, then I'm happy to support you. Fire on.
Thank you. We have Yosuke over the Mitsui Trust Bank, and
No. Mitsui Trust Bank, not Mitsubishi.
Okay. And then daily operation, usually he work together with the high net worth individual, and of course, as most Trojan is to be include or belong to this group. We may hear from him what your bank doing with your private customer, and also your experience. Please, Yosuke.
Hi everybody, my name is Yosuke Fujimori. I'm Japanese. A little bit tired for the chicken dance. Sorry about that. English could not come to my mind, sorry about it. Very nice to see you here in Bali. Welcome to Asia. This year I hear the IBET 45. Please raise the hand at IBET 45.
It's about 20.
Right. Well, 20 years has passed since I graduated. Well, time flies. Like I still remember when the last class was finished, I shouted myself, "Well done, Yosuke!" So, right. I think you have very, very busy time to study, and some of them are very concerned about your graduation, whether you can be graded or not. Yeah. So only, I think the term 1, term 2, average reading time is for me is like 3 to 4 hours. But even if I studied hard, my GPA could not be improved. I'm very worried about it. And well, I couldn't feel I contributed to the class and the teammate. So I think of in my mind, how do I can contribute to our friends in the class? Okay, so but yeah, my English is not good and not native speaker, and my GPA is not good. So yeah, in the every last class, and I raised my hand and asked the professor, "Sir, this topic should be for the test or not? Please tell me." So this is only my contribution, my classmate. Okay. In the beginning, the professor just said, "Yosuke, do you study the MBA for just exam?" "Yes, of course." Yeah, and in the beginning, my classmate laughing at me, but in the end, the professor kindly told me, "Yosuke, this should be on the test. Okay, you should study." Okay, and my friend, classmate, "Yosuke, you should ask." So this is very, very practical and useful way of thinking, doing a business in my future career. What is important? What is useful? So this is what I learned in the IBR in the MBA, the most important things. Okay. After I graduated from the university in Japan, and I went to the IBR. So also my father-in-law IBR 10, and also my wife is also Trojan, majoring in Master of Social Work. So my family has paid a lot of tuition in USC. I think, yeah, among top 5 Japanese, not only Japanese. Yeah. So I must use the leverage, use the network, IBR network and USC network as much as possible, and I must prove our tuition must be recouped. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I have been in the working in Hong Kong over almost 20 years, and my business is doing the wealth management. As you know, for the last 20 years, Asian high net worth, mainly from real estate. My background is real estate developers. And for the last 20 years, as I mentioned, a lot of skyscrapers and real estate building has been developed in China. Right, and high net worth, most of them come from the real estate field. And some of them are luckily from Trojan. So my network in USC, my family network, and very, very helpful to establish these USC high net worth network. During my past experiences, I'd like to tell you some important points to get to know the good terms with the Asian. I don't know the Western high net worth. No. So my story cannot be adaptable to the Western high net worth, but maybe adaptable to the Asian, the Chinese high net worth. Number 1 is improve the ability to take actions and execute it forward. No. Yeah, well, they appreciate my unique character and ability to take actions. So like typical Japanese moved to the Hong Kong. I set up my own companies in Hong Kong, 2011. And now I'm working with the Japanese bank, but it's very unique. So, and also once I decided I would follow this very, rich guy and very influential guys, I have been thoroughly with him, even with the short notice. From the high net worth. Yosuke, do you have time tonight? So now it's 5 p.m. So, okay, yes sir. Even if I have some other appointment or other appointment with the beautiful ladies, of course. I should go with him the dinner. So sometimes when I was in Japan and they called me, Yosuke, are you in Hong Kong? No, I'm in Tokyo. Can you join the breakfast tomorrow? I book the flight, midnight flight, and go to Hong Kong. And the number two is be honest and never telling lie. This is a which goes on and must be true to all the humans, but it's not easy to do this, to keep this, right? High net worth and rich people feels very lonely every time because a lot of people approach them, okay, bringing some very seemingly very good business and make, sir, this business would be make it very profitable. Please invest something like this, and they will be very paranoid beyond the belief that I'm cheated or not. Most of the business, other people bring is a fake or scam, so they'll be very lonely. They are not Superman. They are not genius. They make a profit doing the right thing at the right timing. That's it. They are just lucky. So, but they are man. It's not God. So treat them as a friend, as your friend. So that is like a second point of to be good relationship with the high net worth. The third one is and enhance with the personal powers. They like very creative and interesting guys with humor sense. So they have very drawers about the topics. So if you can talk with him about politics, economies, geopolitical, education, religion, politicians, I think the conversation must be very, very creative, interesting, and for them, and I'm sure they believe they want to see you again. So like broaden your horizon and have many fields you can talk about it. Many drawers you should have it. And the last one, consider the new capitalism. For the last 15 years, it's easy to make money because all over the world has been developing, and if you can bet the right business on the right timing, you make a profit. You could make a profit. But now global is getting more unstable, and it's very challenging to make money. It's very hard to make a decision which country, industry they should invest. This is also the same for the high net worth. They are always considering. Of course they can approach against to the very secret and secret information those ordinary people cannot reach it, and they can meet the very VIP and get these useful, valuable information from them, and they can make a profit. That's true, but it's getting more and more difficult. So also my clients also started to consider it's very hard to make a profit. So they started to think about the new capitalism. New capitalism means ESG, sustainability, equality, and education. So when we had dinner or the lunch, every time they would like to talk about these topics. So most of them, high net worth, wants to start up their schools and donate their capital to the schools. So if you have some such a kind of ideas about these topics, I'm sure you have been very creative talk with them. That's it. Thank you very much.
Arigato, Yosuke-san. Very cool. Andru, now your turn. You can share to us your view, especially your expertise on your investment Because we heard that you are very successful in Indonesia as a what? Yes, it is. In investment, you have more than 15 years experience in investment, not just in Indonesia but globally in different sectors. You may share to us. Please, Andru.
Thank you, Bambang. Good afternoon, everyone. Yosuke-san, I just realized that you graduated almost more than 20 years ago than this current class. I were 24, right?
I graduated.
Now, if you think Yosuke-san is old, I'm actually graduated 2 years before he graduated. I were 22. So we occupied the first Popovich hall in year 2000. A little bit background on IBER, if I may. I met Dr. Grobnik while I was finishing my economics at USC as a loyal customer. And Dean Safiro introduced me to one of the best MBA program to Dick Grobnik. And Dick looked at me and said to me in typical, very polite way, he said, Andrew, you will not have any problem finding a work and a job at home, so why don't you go home and come back in 5 years? Friday, and which I did. Another reason, because we have a financial crisis in 1998 in Indonesia and in Asia. I spoke to the former Minister of Economics, and he said, if we do it right, it will be 5 years recovery. If we don't, it'll be 8 years recovery. So immediately I called up Dick and said, I'm coming to IBER. So right after graduation, I studied finance. So we set up what originally was Bramadi Capital was formed. I co-founded the company in 2001. So we initially started as asset management to invest in stocks, in bonds, and to be as conservative, risk averse. I studied about hedging, portfolio management, and all those stuff. But following the Asian financial crisis, and in business, like Yosuke-san said, two things happens: opportunity and luck. And in every crisis, one of our prominent business person, Moderator, said, the word crisis in Chinese comes from two words. It's a crisis and opportunity. So I raised some funding. I borrowed some family assets, and I asked my father to give me the first inheritance. That's his last name, and his reputation and his network. And I'm lucky enough to have that last name or family name that is quite credible in the market and among other friends. So I borrowed and raised funding and put all the chips into 3 companies. And those companies at the time, if you're from the West, you think you're insane to invest in capital market in Indonesia when the stock market drops tremendously. The currency exchange rates moved from about 3,500 to 15,000, 300% down. And then to invest, to ask people to fund in the market like Indonesia at that time, we have a new government, we have the country with the capital was on fire. That's considered to be insane. But the 3 companies that we invested today, the media company is one of the top TV company by the brand of IndoCR. The bank that we invested is now the #1 bank in Indonesia called BCA. And then Indofood, which is one of the world's largest instant noodle company. So that was the initial investment that we did. Then following that investment, another opportunity arose in real assets. So we started investing in, again, a property assets or development, which, not yet, which we actually, I put these slides to show you how big Indonesia is, and from one end to another end, it's about 5 to 6 hours flights. And
we have 17,000 islands,
yes, 270
million population, the fourth largest in the world.
And then not to make fun or anything, and there is no political, but to show you where Singapore is that dot over there under Kuala Lumpur, and that's about it. So this is the resources that we have. So in the last 18 years, we invested in property, in the shopping mall, we invested in the media company. We also invested in, surprisingly, an airport in the UK, which then won an award as one of the number one for private jet airport in the world under management. We invested in the flight training school in Adelaide, Australia, which also received to be the number one flight training school in Australia, in New South Wales. And that we have one of the largest under management private jet company based out of Hong Kong. And we share to know some of the high net worth individuals, and following to Yosuke comment, I know them, but I cannot talk anything about them because they would like to remain private. So what I learned in the last 18 years is you have to be incredibly able to move. You set aside foundation. This is what I'm going to do. This is what my 5 years plan is. My 10 years plan is. But when opportunity happens, you scramble. You scramble for funding. You scramble for everything you've got, and you do have to make a bet because we are by nature investors. We cannot be bureaucratic. We have to take risks. And one of the best quote I put up in my office: you cannot steal second base in baseball without leaving first base. That means you must take that leap. And you have a long time to make a mistake. At my age, at the moment, I cannot make a mistake. I have no more time to recover. But that's about it. And then I will end it by, actually, let's just go to slides there. This one is to show you that Indonesia, this is for the pandemic, but if you notice the GDP compared to many other developing countries is quite stable. That's why people investing in Indonesia. The inflation rate, surprisingly, thanks to Ministry of Finance, has been able to be cut down, because one of the biggest risks for a country as big as Indonesia with 300 million population is inflation rate. Like my colleague Anna here concerned about people losing jobs to AI. She was just fighting AI but taking over jobs, and she cares about the employment. This is what people need to eat, and when they cannot afford to buy housing, so they cannot afford to buy or to go to restaurants, we have a problem in our hands. And so I thought this is important. Next, let's just skip this one. This is not big. Well, this is basically, Hudson is one of the leading risk management for tankers. And they approached us to manage some of the tanker ships in Pertamina because they manage all ExxonMobil tankers, which is the largest tanker fleet in the world. Again, sometimes when you build credibility over 18 years, people come to you. These guys come and say, Andru, we would like you to be our partners. And this guy came in and I asked him after 1 hour meeting, I think I take up so much of your time, what are you going to do? You've got nothing else to say, I'll go back to Philadelphia. And I said, he's gone. So sometimes building credibility, being humble, most importantly, is important to have. Next. That's it. And I suppose in remarks, I know you're studying, many of you in IBER 45 is starting to maybe working in Asia or international business. There are a couple of things that they don't teach you at MBA or at Marshall's. One is how to deal with stress. And this is actually, I'm quoting a colleague of mine, who's the chairman of Ciputra. I think many of you met yesterday, Mr. Harun. He said it, MBA doesn't teach you how to deal with stress. I will add the second one. He also doesn't help you in maintaining your most important relationship in the world, and that is your loved ones, family or loved ones or your spouse. Let me share a story from the former ExxonMobil CEO in Indonesia. He said to me one time, he came back home, and then his young daughter said, Mommy, that man is here again. How long is he going to stay? Now, many of you, if you're interested to work in international business, you have to travel. I go to London, used to be 8 times a year, and to go to London, you go every month on demand like Yosuke, but don't lose that thing. I think it's a miracle how my wife hasn't left me, and I think it's a miracle that my daughter never called me hi mister. So I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, heard already our panel sharing their view on investment, but I didn't hear about how you guys take seriously in the Asia Pacific region for your investment. Can you share your opinion how you invest on the Pacific region? Who wants to start first? Okay, start from Yosuke-san, please.
Well, I think the region has still very, very huge opportunities and very good potentialities because, still we have a lot of developing country there, and also they need more capitals, they need more technologies. So I think what should be more Asia has, and also but education, we need to education. So invest in the education fields to enhance their standards of language, English language, and mind of the humanity and conformity. Now it's very challenging stage, but in principle, it's a very huge opportunities in the Asia. Of course, yeah, and one is education. The other one, infrastructure. The third one, and of course, aviation and shipping also. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I saw you, Chandra, during the G20 when the U.S. President Joe Biden come to the G20 and mentioned about something about investment. And I know you there, so can you share your view related to the G20 and Joe Biden when they joined the G20 event in Bali?
Sure.
Exactly 30 days ago.
Exactly, yeah. So it's actually being mentioned by Yosuke already, and then also shown by actually in the slides that actually the Asia Pacific region is very promising. Speaking from the Southeast Asia part, we have about 600 million populations. But not only just the sheer numbers, we have the economic growth as well, have been steadily growing 5% and above across all countries as well, outside from the COVID years, of course, 2020. And then after that, the recovery after COVID also has been amazing. That's why all of you have experienced that. You travel from Jakarta, and after that you're traveling to Bali. You have seen that all shopping malls everywhere is jam-packed, right? And then probably you already experienced a single term called macet, right? It's just traffic jams, right? You experienced that already. So welcome to Southeast Asia, okay? And on top of that, we have young populations. It's very important because these are the populations that is still very consumptive, right? So they spend a lot, right? So the average median age of all Southeast Asian countries is actually 29 years old. Just imagine that. Very, very young populations. And that's already, we actually already have to share the burden from Singapore, where their average median is actually 40. So because of Singapore, then it's 29. Probably without Singapore, then 27 or 28. Okay? So that is the case. And that's why, because of the promise in the region, and then I also have the opportunity as well to meet many potentials investors and also big corporations through my relationship through JETRO and COTRA as well. I travel often to everywhere, just like Andru said, it's a miracle already that actually our wife at least still stick with us, right? So I agree with that as well. So we travel everywhere, but the opportunity is definitely there. And then all investors are being very bullish about this region because they can see the potentials. And you can see also from the stability of the geopolitics as well. So Southeast Asia also, there's a stability in geopolitics where we actually of course, have in good terms with US. That's why President Biden actually have, during G20 actually agreed to invest $20 billion US for the transitions to green energy. for Indonesia. But we also nice with China, also with East Asia, Japan and South Korea. South Korea, okay.
South Korea. You mentioned Korea here in your slide.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Yeah. So South Korea, Korea, actually, the next year, in 2023, is going to be the anniversary of the bilateral relationship between South Korea and Indonesia. So it's going to be the 50 years anniversary. So the president and then the at the embassy of Korea already preparing for a big event. Most likely it's going to be in Bali as well in August. So we're preparing actually to for the delegations consisted of mostly top startups and then also top corporations to come and then to find business opportunities in Indonesia. And most of the deals have to be signed before the event. So during the event it's actually just announcement, always like that. Okay? So during the event it's just official announcement. So you can see that there are so many opportunities as well from Jetro side. Also they going to at least set up delegations in March that the JPX, the Japan Stock Exchange, that we're inviting listed companies from Indonesia, 20-30 listed companies from Indonesia. So if any of you have any interest to collaborate with Japanese investors, then I'm more than happy to bring you to Tokyo, but for business, okay, or for leisure, okay, for business only. So you can see that there's a strong interest everywhere. So that's the reason why I'm very bullish about the situations, even though of course there's a market sentiment and negativity in the market sentiment still. But I joined the previous sessions, and then Will mentioned, one of the panelists will mention that, hey, the one that creating the negativity is just us. We are the one that creating all the negativity. So if we all staying optimists, and then if you are looking for opportunities in Southeast Asia or Asia Pacific, please welcome. There are so many opportunities everywhere. Okay?
You want to add something, Yosuke, please?
I think most of the advanced technology and ideas come from the west to the east. It's something like sunrise and sunset. All of the technology from the Western Europe, the United States, and the Japan, Korea, and coming down to the east. So it comes from like sunrise and sunset. So now in Asia, sun is still in the noon. It's Japan, the US, Europe, always almost sunset. And sunset means also aging society. And China, yes, of course, they have faced the aging society. But Asia, South Asia, still for example, age, still high school student. Huge opportunity are upside there. Japan, no more. Aging society. Age 80. They must go to senior housing already. So in that case, Japan and then Asia has very, very huge potentiality still there for next couple of decades.
Thank you. Andrew, you want to say your view?
In connection to G20, a lot of the question people wonder is what was the recipe for Indonesia to maintain the GDP better than most countries, especially European countries, in effect of Ukraine war, Russia-Ukraine war. And one of the comments from the Ministry of Finance would be two things. First, we're in luck because we also export a lot of raw materials, nickel for the batteries, and then coal also. We have a massive raw materials. Countries like Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore has not such luxury for the export, so that helps. Second of all, we actually were able, our middle class system, the spending power is there. That accounts for the fast speedy recovery for the post-pandemic when people start spending, just like China. Now, also, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but our imports our exports account for only 25%. We import a lot more goods than we export, so that means we have a huge domestic demand. However, in return, when the export market for Singapore increase faster, we tend to be slower to to catch up with the world. And the next question I asked him was, so what do we do to increase and to maintain this middle class level, which is clearly our bloodline? And the answer is what Yosuke already said and Chandra already said: education. We are lacking in education. We have the schools, but we may not have the softwares. We don't have the right faculties, the right educational curriculums, or the way of teaching. Our teachers are still paid very, very low. And education starts at middle school, right? When they start learning about math. To give you an example, Jakarta accounts for the majority of it's about 12 million population. Super majority of the teachers of schools up to high school for Indonesian public, not private schools, come from one institution. And that institution hasn't been audited for so long. So a visit to the schools gives you that we still have a lot of work. But to be positive about it, before that, in ASEAN, Indonesia, cost of transportation and logistics is always 40% higher than many other countries because we don't have the infrastructure. And people said, infrastructure.
Until today, right?
And 10 years ago, in the last 10 decades under current administrations, we did it. So it's just a matter of the right government and the right regulation. I'm sure even education will be handled under the right management of the country.
Thank you, Andrew. Let's give a round of applause to our panel before we come to Q&A session. Yeah, we have about 20 minutes for the Q&A session, and I give the opportunity to the gentleman over here. Please mention your name and your country and why you come to this room.
Hi everyone, I'm Rian from Palembang, Indonesia. So I'm from Trinity Land. I come here because you invited me, Palembang. I'm also my best friend Chandra. She's a really good friend of mine. So both of these young gentlemen, they're inviting me in separate sessions to come here. So I'm not a USC alumni, but they talk so many things about USC that makes me want to study there. So I would like to ask a question to Yosuke. It's really inspiring of what you're sharing about the high net worth clients. As you know, the Asians, they rarely say no or they're rarely rejecting your offers. How do we know when to stop, or should we ever stop on offering them projects, or how do you read their minds, or how to really effective way to close the deals or giving the offers? Thank you.
Before you answer this question, let me explain a little bit about him. He has a luxury tourism project in East Nusa Tenggara. We call it Tadamori. So, guys, after you stay in Bali, you can also go to Labuan Bajo, the other luxury tourism. Okay, now your turn.
Yeah, when I talk to them and about some offers to them, yeah, of course, yeah, easy way is not offshore talking. Just send WhatsApp. How about this? If they are interested, respond very promptly. Yeah, very quickly. Okay, next day is okay. Let's talk about. So, having a coffee, something. Not something like offshore presentation. In my bank, very conservative Japanese bank, very boring bank. So they try to make some very good presentation, beautiful presentation. But these presentations do not be big impact on them. Just say, okay, secret talk between you and me, something like that. That is very important. Okay, so just send SMS and text, like WhatsApp, some WeChat message, and they responded promptly. Yeah, that seems very, some possibility to go forward. I'm not sure this is answer for you. Right?
Yeah, it's good. Thank you for the tips and all
Okay.
the tips.
Another question from the floor. Okay, this lady, can you just stand up, mention your name, and from what class you are from USC?
Hi, my name is Anne Patricia Sukanto. I'm the CEO of my brothers. I'm Indonesian and FITER B 1992, not IPER, USC 1992 on engineering. So my questions to all the three gentlemen. On ESC, of course you all know ESC, right? In the changing of Asia-Pacific region, and yesterday, Dr. Narongchai, you said something about how important ASEAN-Pacific changed the worldview on humanity. I'm going back always to humanity because I do believe that someone is going to be left behind. And what I'm afraid of always, 90% of the world populations, you are talking about Yosuke, you are talking about aging populations, but I'm not afraid of that aging population as long as it's a quality populations. Unfortunately, there's more non-advanced developed poor country, more in the world than advanced. G7 is advanced, not us, the rest of G130. But what I'm trying to say, FOMO, fear of missing out, financing and investing, how you would change the face of Asia-Pacific region by investing in an ESG-driven and high impact and not just fear of missing out. Including you, Yosuke, because you are in a, like you said, boring, Japanese. I deal with a lot of Japanese. I supply to Uniqlo, so you know how boring they are, or how sorry to say this, but I'm being very outspoken. Being Trojans, you have to be outspoken, right? And like I said to you, Chandra, I'm always optimistic, even though next year is so uncertain. Number of years as a fight on Trojans, of course you have to be optimistic, even though it's not a bullish, it's a bearish, but you are always a bullish, right? Because it's a fight on. But what I would like to see the three of you saying things like how you drive your company with whatever roles that you are on ESG, and how you would like to push on this ESG, because at the end of the day, the human is the number one factor of our future. And how you guys are going to push this up. I want to see. Please be realistic. Don't give me a FOMO or unrealistic. You are talking with Trojans. You're not talking with the rest of the
Okay,
world.
thank you, Anne. We got it. Okay, start from your Yosuke-san, please.
My clients who are very super high net worth, always thinking, well, the top university has graduate top university occupy most of the 90% of occupied of the world, or fortune, wealth of the world. This is very strange. They started to say this about this. So the equality of education is that poor people must have like equal education. We need to establish such systems, education system in the world. Also, cannot make it in a day. So it takes about more than some decades, or maybe 100 years. But equality of education, especially at the university, this is very important. So I think, well, that is one of the key to make ESG so going forward and more, spread over all over the world. It's not education, it's not ESG directly, but to make some business of the ESG business should start it from education, equality of education, especially in university. So some of my clients try to set up their schools, no fee, without any tuition, no distinction of genders, so nationalities. I think these trends must contributes to the ESG enhancement in the future.
Sorry, not yet. You didn't mention about how to push the Asia Pacific with your bank, with your experience, because I asked that question.
Enhance in my bank, also like, my bank also invests in the infrastructure of Asian countries, the developing countries. It's now investing in the water companies and the electric companies in India and Myanmar. Myanmar and Cambodia. Right. I think we are bank, not equity investors. So, but we conservative Japanese banks started to invest in these fields, also like to push the ESG business more and more.
Andrew, please. Have this one.
Thank you. Anna, this is a question that I think in my honest and sincere opinion, you're asking the wrong guy. If you're in the school of business, the fundamentals of doing business is to maximize the wealth of your shareholders. You get efficiency, you cut costs, you maximize profit, bottom line. However, so from a business point of view, from a shareholder point of view, from a fund manager, I don't have room to, or even leeway to address the issues. However, any successful businessman like yourself in Indonesia would know someone in the government would have the relationship, would have the network, and you would have their ears. Yosuke is saying. He's got the relationship with the high net worth. Every successful businessman, especially in Asia, will have the ears of the right government regulatory to do the right thing, to set up the right regulations, to make laws, not just to favor publicity or votes, but make laws that actually really have an effect for the younger generations. Give them enough food to eat. So let's do hedging on food stability. And I'm also advising Islamic Development Bank for Indonesia. I keep telling them, why don't you get funding together with the Minister of Finance company on food staples, the basic 8 food staples, and improve on the refinery of the sugar, refinery of the meat processing, and everyone in the logistics. So we could influence indirectly through the government as a businessman and set aside some of funding, put it under CSR or lobby funds or whatever we call it, but start doing our job. You're in Kadin, I've been in Kadin for 15 years. I was chairman.
Kadin is Indonesia Chamber of Commerce, government partner in Indonesia.
You could guard the government like what you're doing now, not to make the regulation that hurts the younger generation, make them easier to go to school, give them better platform to have better internet access, better education, give them roads, and tell the police not to stop them for any red tapes money, and when they start entrepreneurial business. And for the bank, well, not you, but the local banks, the problem with banks is it's always a collateral issue, right? Interest rate is now, how much does it cost for a bank to lose 20% of $1 million? As opposed they lose only 5%, but $100 million. This is where the world system, many of you I hope will go to the bank and consider when a young unknown with no reputation guy come in, knock at the door, I need fund. Treat them, the fact that he goes to a bank, that means he has something. No one with intention to steal will go to a bank. But sometimes the system is you give it to people with big names like Donald Trump or something. It's easier for them to borrow money. So that's, to answer your question, is we do it indirectly. But that's the most we can do.
Thank you. Chandra?
Yes, I'll be very honest, GN, and sorry to disappoint you, but like Andru mentioned, because I'm a fund manager, so my focus before was actually only thinking about how to maximize the returns for my investors, right? So we didn't think much about ESG. I know that's important, of course, right? But we didn't think much, and then especially because, let's say before COVID, actually, ESG is considered to be something that you shouldn't touch, because when you touch it, then basically there's not much return that you can expect, or if there's a return, then the return will be very, very low. But because of like Andru mentioned already, there are so many other factors, like the young generations actually paying more close attention to this. So thanks God for them. Okay. Then after that, then the government also, the corporation also politically have to agree to lobby the government as well. There's pressure from the governments to the corporations. So we have been lately receiving a lot of requests related to ESG. So ESG efforts. So even like I mentioned, our partnership with Jawa Beka. So Jawa Beka has been pressuring us, hey, bring me ESG related company. I have to build a environmental friendly power plant, something like that. So I've been pressured to bring actually partners to develop this kind of opportunities for them, right? Or maybe like Luki with the water treatment as well, right? So there are so many demands. So again, if you need anything related to water treatment, please reach out to Luki, okay? So you see that there are so many pressures from everywhere actually to accomplish this. And one of the examples, again, like we mentioned before, that even President Biden, right, already agreed to invest 20 billion, right, to actually to help Indonesia with the transitions to the green energy. So it's actually becoming actually an opportunity for everyone, because there'll be so much money that actually going to be actually put to this opportunity, and actually all the investors like not expecting much return. The best kind of business, right? So you don't actually have to create return to the investors, right? Because they're happy to actually to invest that money. And why they want to do that? Because they are looking at the bigger pictures. They're looking at the relationship between their big corporations with the governments, right? So it's easier for them to lobby and everything. So there are several companies in Indonesia that have been actually leveraging that position. So they apply for actually a power plant, green energy power plant, because they are big palm oil companies, right? So they are the one that, of course, not environmental friendly, right? But they use that opportunity to actually to say that, hey, Indonesian government, why don't you give me the license to build green energy power plant? That happened already, and then this company now reached out to me and then said that, hey, remember I mentioned to you guys about the opportunity to come to Japan for the event with JPX. So this company said to me that, hey, I'm looking for investors from Japan that actually want to invest in the green energy power plant. It's actually, there's actually a big demand for that from the Japanese corporations that are looking to invest in the green energy power plant in Indonesia. So I think you'll be very pleased, GN, that it's transitioning really well at this moment, and I'm very confident that in the year or two, we will see so many deals being signed that related to actually pushing ESG to the front.
Thank you, Chandra. Okay, I heard from IBER 45. Please, IBER 45, the new generation. Should I step down and... Okay, please, mention your name.
He is from Germany, and I'm IBA 44, so there's like 1 year gap, but I hope I'm good.
It's okay.
And I'm jumping in for IBA 45 because I seem to be a little bit tired. So my question is regarding I also understand that this region is really promising for investment over the next decades, it's for sure. The question is, what do you see as the main risks that investors should stay aware of when they enter the Indonesian market in particular, because I think we have a lot of expertise here on the stage regarding Indonesia. Thank you very much.
That's the question for you, Andrew, because you have more experience on it. Please, Andrew.
Well, the first thing I was going to put on the slides is the currency exchange rate. Rupiah, unlike yuan, so it eats up on your bottom line when you're making 17% IRR and your currency exchange rate in 1 year dropped by 6%. It drops your IRR. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, thanks that the government and society should be aware, the social media feeds so much information to a population of young demographic in Indonesia. I could say that Bambang here destroy a mosque somewhere, and then suddenly within a day, 20 people start burning church and things like that. Thanks to media who's hungry for only bad news and it gets the attention, and people do not filter where their source of information is. And in the population we are predominantly Muslim population, many of them living just below, and maybe just above poverty line, and people are tired and people are stuck in traffic for 1 hour. It's so easy to be, it's a combustible. And there's nothing wrong with fundamentals. We've got the infrastructure increasing, it's just the population so easily. And we are in the age of technology. We were discussing about the impact of social media faster than news today, and not unfiltered. There's no chief editor for any WhatsApp or Twitter or people can. So in a young, less educated demographic like Indonesia, that is the risk. We must have a very strong government. Discourse, email seems brutal maybe sometimes, but without a strong sense of security, we will lose it. So that's the give and take. But then every time the armed forces start to address the issue or protest, people, again, social media said it's tyranny or whatever. See, context. What I'm saying is we need to filter, we need to be able to see where things are.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, give a big applause for the panel. Yeah, I know that you may still have a question, but on the back, I see that Ego say time's up. So sorry, after this, you may have direct confirmation with all the panel. Thank you.
Good luck and congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Bambang Surwarso, our distinguished moderator, along with all panelists. Please kindly remain on stage and take position at the center of the stage as we will present you the token of appreciation. We already have the IBER student representative on stage, Stella and Rodrigo. We kindly please you to give your speech first.
Thank you very much for your recommendations. Very inspiring, very insightful, and well, for all of us, and on behalf of the University of Southern California, we have a little gift for you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo. Therefore, we're pleased to give the token of appreciation and symbolism of the Trojans with all of the activities of AUSCI and IBER in the past years. Let's take a picture together. Fight on! Okay. Once again, thank you very much for Bambang Surwarso, Bapak Chandra, Firmanto, Mr. Yosuke Fujimori, and Bapak Andru Subowo. A very enlightening panel session to close our agenda for today. Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished panel, Stella and Rodrigo, you may return to your seat. Thank you very much. Fellow Trojan and friends, we conclude all of our panel agenda for today, and now we will have 1 hour time for one-on-one business matchmaking session, followed by dinner at Pandan Sari restaurant, start from 5:30 p.m. And ladies and gentlemen, during this session, kindly gather around the round table or your seats by cluster, or if you wish to do it at the Voya area, you are very welcome. And during this session, please gather around the cluster of interest or potential business partner. During our business matchmaking session, if there is any of you in need to make any kind of announcement, we already provided a microphone on stage that you can use also. Kindly remind you for tomorrow, we will have our last panel session as our agenda for half day tomorrow. Thank you for having me, but before, I would like to inform you some of the arrangement for our dinner for tonight. Please kindly gather at the assembly point at Taman Kita, 5 p.m., 1 hour from now. And we will depart to Pandansari at 5:15. For those of you, if you are running late later on, or you're left behind, you may see the map at the to Pandansari restaurant on your agenda or booklet map. And it is also provided at the registration area. Our dress code for tonight will be casual, slippers, or sandals, because we will have our dinner on the beach area. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your dinner and enjoy your business matchmaking session. Thank you for having me. I'll see you tomorrow. Trojans, fight on!